I've lived on the first floor for almost 6 years. Not because it was cheaper, not because it was more convenient. I chose it. I've never liked being high up. Balconies, upper floors, the feeling that there's nothing solid beneath you. On the first floor, you always know what's under your feet. Concrete, ground, something real. At least, that's what I used to think. The building isn't special. 4 floors, old gray panels, built sometime in the late 70s, back when everything was designed to last, not to look good. The walls are thick. The stairwell smells like dust and cleaning chemicals. The lights flicker sometimes, but no one bothers fixing them. My apartment is right next to the stairwell door. You step inside the building, turn left, and there it is. And just below that stairwell, the basement. Most people imagine basements as one small room, a few pipes, some old boxes. That's not how ours is. Our basement stretches under the entire building. It's divided into sections, old storage rooms, metal cages with bent doors, concrete hallways that don't show up on any plan. Some people have keys to their little storage units down there. Most don't. Most people haven't been down there in years. I went down there once, when I moved in. Just once. The light barely worked. The air was damp. The ceiling was low in some places and strangely high in others. It felt wrong. Not scary, just uncomfortable. So I locked my storage cage, went back upstairs, and never returned. My life was quiet. I work a normal job, office hours, nothing exciting. I come home around 7, cook something simple, sit on the couch, fall asleep with the TV on. I don't go out much. I don't bring people over. And for a long time, that routine never changed. The first thing that changed wasn't a sound. It was a smell. It started subtle, late at night, around the time when the building goes completely quiet. It crept up from the floor.
Not strong enough to make me get up. Not obvious enough to panic. Just there. Damp. Earthy, with something sharp underneath. Like wet concrete mixed with metal. I blamed the pipes. Old buildings have smells, especially when the weather changes. I opened a window and forgot about it. Then, a few nights later, I noticed the floor vibrating. Barely. So slightly that I thought it was my imagination. I sat still on the couch, turned the TV off, listened. There was something beneath me. Not a bang, not a scrape. More like weight shifting. Slow, careful. I told myself it was water pressure, heating. Anything but what my body was already reacting to. I ignored it. That's important. I ignored it. Because nothing bad ever starts as something obvious. A few nights later, I heard the stairs. It was after 2 in the morning. I was half asleep when the sound pulled me back. Footsteps, coming up from below. Not fast, not heavy. 1 step. Pause. Another step. Then nothing. I sat up in bed, held my breath, waited. Nothing else happened. No door opened, no voices. I convinced myself someone had gone down to the basement, even though no one ever did that at night. I didn't tell anyone, not because I was scared, because it felt stupid. Then small things started going missing. At first, no one noticed. An old bike tire, a broken chair, boxes people hadn't opened in years. stuff that could have been thrown away. Then someone noticed their lock was open. Not broken, just unlocked. Another neighbor said the same thing. We joked about it in the stairwell. Someone stealing trash. No one laughed much. Around that time, I started paying attention to the basement door. It's at the bottom of the stairwell. Heavy metal, paint peeling. It used to stay closed. Now it didn't. Every morning it was slightly open. Not wide, just enough to see darkness inside. Someone said it didn't latch properly anymore.
Someone else said kids must be messing with it. I didn't say anything, because sometimes when I passed it, I could smell that same damp, metallic scent. Stronger. A few weeks later, the first animal disappeared. An orange cat that lived near the entrance. Everyone knew it. It slept on the radiator, let people pet it. Never went far. One morning, it just wasn't there. No noise, no mess. People shrugged. Cats run away. A few days later, another one vanished. Then a small dog. This time, someone found the leash. Cut. Clean. That's when people stopped shrugging. That's when conversations got quieter. People started closing the building door faster. Someone mentioned foxes. Someone blamed teenagers. No one mentioned the basement. But I noticed something. The sounds at night were changing. They weren't random anymore. They followed a pattern. Late, slow, always starting below. Something would move in the basement. Then the stairs. Just a few steps, then nothing. As if whatever it was only needed to listen. And that's when I realized something else. The sounds stopped whenever I moved. If I shifted on the couch, they stopped. If I held my breath, they continued. That was the moment my routine stopped feeling safe. I didn't start talking about it right away. Not because I wasn't scared, because fear still felt premature. Men do that. We look for reasons first, explanations, anything solid to grab onto. I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep, a building settling in its old age. That worked for a while, until other people started noticing things too. It happened one morning in the stairwell. I was leaving for work when I ran into a neighbor from the third floor. Middle-aged guy, quiet, keeps to himself. We exchanged the usual nod. Then he hesitated. "You ever hear noises at night?" he asked. Just like that. No build-up. I felt my stomach tighten. "What kind of noises?" I asked. He scratched his neck, looked down the stairs. "Like someone opening the basement door," he said. "Late. Real slow." I didn't answer right away. He noticed. "Yeah," he added quickly. "Probably pipes." Probably. That word did a lot of work in this building. After that, it started happening more often. Short conversations, whispers, half jokes that weren't really jokes. A woman from the first floor said she smelled something strange near the stairwell. Another neighbor complained about muddy footprints near the basement. No one filed official complaints. Not yet. Then I saw the first real sign. It was early morning, around 6. I opened my door to leave for work and stopped. There were marks on the floor. Not footprints. Drag marks. Faint, but visible if you knew where to look. Something heavy had been pulled across the concrete. They started near the basement stairs and ended right below my floor. my apartment. I crouched down and touched them, still damp, cold. I stood up slowly and looked around the stairwell. Nothing. No one else seemed to have noticed. I didn't tell anyone. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, listening. The sounds came earlier than usual. Movement below, a pause. Then the stairs. One step, pause. Another. This time it came higher. I could hear breathing, not loud, controlled, as if whatever it was knew sound traveled in the stairwell. I held my breath. It stopped moving. Minutes passed. Then, slowly, it went back down. The next day, people went to check their storage units. That's when things escalated. Locks were open, not broken, just opened. Boxes torn apart, not searched, destroyed. Old clothes shredded, wood splintered, metal bent. Nothing valuable was taken, just ruined. Someone joked about vandals. No one laughed. That afternoon, the building manager finally came. He went down into the basement with 2 other men, flashlights, clipboards. They were down there for a long time.
When they came back up, their faces were pale. They said it was probably animals. They said they'd look into sealing some sections. They didn't answer questions. That night, the smell was unbearable. It seeped through the floor. Rotten, animal, wet. I opened all the windows. It didn't help. I sat on my couch, staring at the door, when I heard something new. A wet sound, like skin brushing against concrete. Slow, deliberate. It was closer than before. I stood up, moved toward the door, and stopped. Because the sound was coming from the stairwell, right outside. I leaned in, pressed my ear against the door, and that's when I heard it. Sniffing. Not random, targeted. As if it was testing the air, learning. I stepped back without making a sound. The sniffing stopped. A pause. Then footsteps. Heavy, uneven. They moved away, down, back into the basement. The next morning, I checked the peephole. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. Or curiosity finally overpowering fear. The stairwell was empty. But something was wrong. There were marks on the wall this time. Scratches. Not deep, but long. At an angle that didn't make sense for a person. They started low and went up, higher than a man's reach. That's when I realized something that made my hands shake. Whatever was coming out of that basement was learning the building, learning us. And it wasn't done yet. After that night, I stopped pretending. I didn't say it out loud, didn't call it a monster, didn't even give it a name. But I stopped lying to myself. Something was coming out of the basement, and it wasn't an animal. I started paying attention to the building in a way I never had before. The sounds, the smells, the timing. It always happened late, always after midnight, always when the building was quiet. Never when lights were on, never when people moved around. It waited. That alone told me more than I wanted to know. A few days later, the building manager put up a notice. Basement inspection. Access temporarily restricted. People gathered around it like it was a missing person poster. Someone asked if it was about the animals. He said yes. Someone asked if it was about Walter. He didn't answer. The inspection happened during the day. I stayed home from work.
I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see it for myself. 3 workers showed up, 2 from maintenance, 1 from the city. They unlocked the basement door. For the first time in weeks, it opened fully. The smell rolled out immediately. Not just damp now, old, sour, heavy. One of the workers gagged. They went down with flashlights. The door stayed open. I stood at the top of the stairs pretending to check my phone, but I watched. They were gone for a long time, longer than anyone expected. When they came back up, they weren't talking. One of them had something on his boot, dark, thick. He scraped it off on the concrete without a word. Later that day, people started checking their storage units again. This time they didn't joke. One woman was crying. Her boxes were empty. Not stolen. Gone. Clothes, blankets, old shoes, all missing. Another neighbor found his storage cage bent open. Not pried, bent. Like something had pulled it apart slowly. Inside, there were marks on the walls. Scratches, long, uneven, at shoulder height and higher. That night, the building was silent, too silent. No TVs, no footsteps. People stayed inside. I sat by my door with the lights off. The peephole felt like a magnet. I tried not to look, I really did. But around 2 a.m, I heard it again. The basement door, opening, slower than ever before. I moved quietly, placed my eye to the peephole. At first I saw nothing, just the dim stairwell. Then something shifted at the bottom of the stairs. A shape, low to the ground, not crawling, not walking.
Something in between. It stopped halfway up, and I saw it clearly for the first time. Its body was wrong. Too thin, too long. Its arms touched the steps even when it was upright. Its head tilted to one side, not looking, listening. Its skin looked dirty, stretched, like it didn't fit properly. It stayed there, not moving, just breathing, slow, wet. I pulled back from the door. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure it could hear it. And that's when I realized something else. The breathing stopped when I stopped breathing. It stayed there for minutes. Then, carefully, it turned and went back down. The next morning, the basement was sealed. Temporary barriers, warning tape, official statements followed. Structural issues, health concerns, temporary closure. But people knew. You could see it in their faces. They moved faster in the stairwell, avoided looking down. The animals didn't come back. Walter didn't come back. And the marks, they didn't go away, even after cleaning, even after repainting. I still see them sometimes, when the light hits the wall just right. Scratches that shouldn't be there. And every now and then, late at night, I hear something beneath the concrete, moving, adjusting, like it's still learning. After that, the building changed. Not physically. People did. Doors closed faster, lights stayed on longer. No one lingered in the stairwell anymore. Walter's disappearance became official. Missing person. No suspects, no witnesses. Police came once more, asked the same questions, got the same answers. They never went back into the basement.
By then, the city had already declared it unsafe, condemned. They sealed the main door with steel plates, welded them shut. Temporary, they said. People felt safer. I didn't. Because sealing a place doesn't erase what lived there. It just limits where it can go. For a while, things were quiet. Too quiet. No smells, no sounds, no movement. Weeks passed. I started sleeping again. I let my guard down. That's when I made my mistake. One Friday night, I stayed out late. A friend's birthday, a few drinks, nothing wild. I checked the time before leaving. 11:47 p.m. Too late. The walk back felt longer than usual. The street was empty. Lights buzzed overhead. When I reached the building, the front door didn't close properly behind me. It clicked, then opened again slightly. I stopped. Listened. Nothing. I stepped inside. The stairwell light was on, flickering. I climbed the first few steps toward my apartment, keys already in my hand. That's when I heard it. Metal below me. Not the main basement door. That was sealed. This was deeper. A secondary door. One I'd seen once during the inspection. Opening. Slow. Controlled. My body reacted before my mind did. My skin went cold. The smell hit me instantly, stronger than ever. Rotten. Wet. Alive. I stood frozen in front of my door. My key wouldn't go in. My hands were shaking too badly. Below me, something shifted. A wet, dragging sound. Then a pause. I knew exactly what was happening. It wasn't rushing. It was listening, smelling, trying to place me. I forced the key in. Behind me, I heard it move. Closer. Not fast. Certain. I didn't look. I couldn't. I turned the lock. Once. Twice. Pulled the door open and fell inside. I slammed it shut and locked everything. Every lock, every chain. I backed away from the door, pressed myself against the wall, and then I heard it step into the stairwell. Heavy, uneven. It stopped right outside my apartment, exactly where I'd been standing seconds earlier. It didn't touch the door, didn't test the handle. It leaned in. I could hear its breathing through the wood. Slow. Curious. Then the sniffing started. Long draws of air, right at the crack under my door. I covered my mouth. Didn't breathe, didn't move. Minutes passed. Then it stopped. Footsteps retreated, slowly, back down. I stayed there until morning. Didn't sleep, didn't sit, just waited. The next day, everything escalated. City officials came back. This time, they didn't pretend. They brought equipment, concrete trucks. They opened the basement again. Daylight, noise, people. They found more than before, much more. I didn't go down. I didn't need to. I could tell by the way they came back up, pale, silent. They didn't talk to residents. They didn't answer questions. By evening, the basement was gone, filled, sealed, buried. Official cause? Structural collapse risk, gas issues. Whatever sounded best. People accepted it. They always do. I still live on the first floor. I've thought about moving, a lot. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear something beneath the concrete, shifting, adjusting, like it's remembering the shape of the building and waiting. They never told us exactly what they found, not officially. There were no reports pinned in the stairwell, no meetings, no explanations, just silence. The basement was gone within 2 days, filled with concrete, sealed like a tomb. The workers wore protective gear, masks, gloves. They didn't joke this time. They didn't even look at the residents. One of them vomited behind the building. Another refused to go back down after the first hour. That was enough for me. Rumors spread anyway. They always do. Someone said they found bones, not just animals. Someone else said there were tunnels beyond the storage rooms, old service passages no one remembered. Another neighbor claimed they saw deep grooves in the concrete floor, like something heavy had been dragged back and forth, over and over. But the most disturbing rumor came from a man who worked with the city crew. He said they found marks on the walls, not scratches, imprints.
Like something had leaned there for a long time, listening, waiting. After the basement was sealed, the building slowly returned to normal. People relaxed. Doors stopped slamming shut. Lights turned off earlier. Life moved on. But I couldn't. Because the sounds didn't completely stop. They changed. Sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet, I feel it. A vibration under my feet. Subtle, like pressure building and releasing, like something shifting its weight. I stopped using my storage unit years ago. I don't keep anything I don't need. I don't leave doors unlocked, ever. I installed extra locks, motion sensors, cameras inside my apartment. None of them ever trigger. And that scares me more than if they did. Because it means whatever lived down there learned. I started looking into other buildings, old ones, first floors, basements sealed suddenly for repairs, missing pets, missing people. Different neighborhoods, same patterns, always late at night, always quiet, always places where no one goes anymore. I don't tell people this. They don't want to hear it. They want clean endings, simple explanations. But I know what I saw. I know what stood in my stairwell. I know how it listened. And I know this. It didn't attack because it wasn't ready yet. It was learning. Us. Our habits, our routines, our mistakes. They buried it under concrete. But concrete cracks. Buildings age. And some things don't die just because you seal a door. I still live on the first floor, and every night before I go to sleep, I check the lock. Once, twice, and sometimes when the building is completely silent, I swear I can hear something beneath the floor. Breathing. Waiting for the next door someone forgets to lock.